Hi, I'm Richard Ashworth. I'm here to talk to you about Hexagram 55, Feng Abundance, and I'm going to approach it a little bit differently than previous hexagrams. Darkness at noon. At noon, darkness came over the whole land, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Matthew 27:51. We have entered a time of darkness. For some, that darkness was welcome. For some, it represents defeat. For all of us, it was inevitable. Inevitable because all that is the child of all that came before, just as all that will be is already in gestation. The darkness will in time end and the light will return, though we may not all live to see it. Meanwhile, it is important not to confuse artificial light with the sun. It was John Stuart Mill who wrote that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And hexagram 5 may foreshadow this puzzle. There are three powerful lines, the yang at the first and at the fourth, who are too similar in objectives to readily cooperate, and the stronger yin at the fifth, who, though herself limited in physical strength, is wise enough to co-opt the warlord at the fourth. She's also careful to respect the higher laws represented by the sixth, which leaves the power at the first to decide whether to join or to skulk. It's very clear, however, that outliers will fall quickly, and that the best hope is to rally round the ruling line at the fifth. Genuine leaders will emerge. Feng, abundance, thunder over fire, like every hexagram with thunder, is dynamic. In this case, increase, wealth and abundance are implied, but also rolling up the sleeves and taking arms against the sea of troubles that approaches. The good fortune is real, but fragile and temporary. Some hexagrams call for acceptance. For instance, hexagram 33, done, the yielding. Others for action. To everything, including resistance, there is a season. Thunder indicates that season is now. Resistance must be vigorous, but as Nietzsche warned, that may mean being indistinguishable from the enemy. We need to know them, but not to become them. The Tao, of course, is not necessarily the gentle downward gradient, nor is it necessarily not the steep slope. We know these things, and in this case, the fire below the thunder suggests limited duration. The subject, who is lucky for now, is likely to burn out. Best make plans now. This hexagram of impending evil offers a route to recovery by way of working together. The moody presence at the first line must join up or perish. This is no time for posturing. The image is of a cooking pot overflowing with food, but since this hexagram, like hexagram 4, Meng, youthful folly, is often interpreted as having a magical aspect, it may be that this is a witch's brew rather than the widow's cruse. We're receiving a reminder to observe the cause and effect of virtuous behavior, and there is a price to pay as well as a time limit on both good and bad fortune. In the Bible story, Joseph is consulted by the Pharaoh as to the meaning of certain nightmares. He's dreamed of 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 emaciated ones. Both the image and the traditional interpretation of Feng recall Joseph's advice. Now we have plenty, but there are lean times coming. Prepare, store, and replenish while you can. As the hexagram goes on to say, the waxing and waning of heaven and earth accord with the course of time. It is this challenge that may concern us. How do we prolong the period of plenty? And the answer is that this is a time to pool our resources and to cooperate. As Margaret Killjoy recommends, the first step is to de-escalate all conflict that isn't with the enemy. De-escalate all conflict that isn't with the enemy. This is no time for petty rivalries. If there are going to be dark days, we need to be ready. We must deal with the likely inconvenience and shortage, so that, like the Pharaoh, we can not only re-emerge when the light returns, but feed our people meanwhile. We need, I think, to concede that the multiple urgent concerns that confront us will not be solved by reason and absolutely not by technology. That dream needs to be filed under F for fantasy. Transforming the coming chaos calls for deep honesty. That is, a clear observation of what is so and an acceptance of it. This is centrally a spiritual issue. What it doesn't call for is either lingering in the dark or denying it. These two are the usual pitfalls. Either denying the pain, which means we're not truly in the present at all, or lingering in it in the mistaken belief that greater pain is greater healing. The pain is not in the feeling, but in the not feeling. Fear does not hurt. It is the attempt not to feel fear that hurts. The same is true of anger and grief. We make these mistakes routinely. Some of us may feel unable to do otherwise. Mechanically, this is a question of conscious breathing and feeling. Feel the feeling that is there, briefly but profoundly. A few deep breaths will do it. And then conjure your vision of how you want things to be. Do this as often or as infrequently as you like, but mean it. Repetition may speak of uncertainty rather than reinforcement. This conundrum asks for vision. We need, regardless of the confusion, to keep our eyes on the world we wish to bring into being. This vision must be detailed and rich and genuinely desired. Those of us who are lukewarm need to own that, for we will create what we truly choose. As Bob Dylan wrote just as the last Chinese Ganzi cycle was being born, your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand. We might usefully compare Feng with Meng Yi, Hexagram 36, brightness obscured. At Meng Yi, the darkness is already upon us and all we can do is wait for it to be over. Today, Feng offers alliance and preparation and leadership. The key is cooperation and preparation. The stars may be visible at noon, but the dark is not yet total.